Hey, what's going on, Purple People podcast fans? Welcome to this week's show. It is Wednesday, June the 5th. My name is Kyle Smith, and I am joined by the always handsome and always knowledgeable Kyle West. How are you, sir?
I am one of those two things. Actually, I am neither of those two things, but I pretend to be knowledgeable. I joke all the time, if you ever want to look important, walk around with a clipboard. That's a secret. That's a life hack. Just have a clipboard and people think you're important.
If you want to be mysterious, carry around an old timepiece like an old pocket watch.
Ooh.
Like, why is that guy?
You could do like the Flavor Flav thing and have like a
yeah. And if you don't want to get hired by anyone, wear that.
We're the Flavor Flav talk.
We're giving out life lessons here on the Purple People podcast.
We are really going to start our 350th episode talking about Flavor Flav.
I don't know how that happened, but I'm glad it did. Yeah, this is episode 350, if you can believe it. I say that every time because for some reason people always keep joining, and I'm just really excited that this has gone this far. I think I joined like 83, 85, somewhere in there. I've been doing it ever since. So this is just a part of my week, and I'm hoping –
yeah, mine too.
And Kyle's and Adam and Dorian, even though they're not here. What's up, guys? We miss you. I hope it becomes a part of somebody else's week. Who's the guy that we always miss? He's always in the damn car, and he's always listening to
Scott. That's Scott Schwab.
Scott, if you're
I guarantee you he's driving right now.
If you're driving, man, get on the chat and let us know, because it seems like that's the only time he listens to us, which is cool. That's when I listen to all my podcasts. But anyways, we're rambling. Let's jump into some quick hits. This is episode 350. Titled Tree-Fiddy, because holy shit, we've done 350 episodes. That's crazy. Quick hits. Let's talk about a former Viking great still out there doing it. Adrian Peterson is entering his 13th NFL season. He is 34, and he still believes he can play at a high level in the league. He is quoted saying, "I got my mark set at 2,000. I've always had that mark since I stepped in the league." So that's where it's at personally. I think it's stupid for all these so-called Viking columnists to bash people.
This is my opinion here at the end of it.
Out there. So this is Kyle West, and this is kind of cool. I agree with this take, but I'm not going to steal your take, so you go ahead and take that away.
Okay, so his quote, like you said, was basically, hey, he's hitting for 2,000 yards. That's his goal. His goal has always been 2,000 yards. And so my opinion is I see a lot of these Vikings columnists who take the shitty opinion of saying, how can Adrian think he's going to rush for 2,000 yards? He's 34 years old, blah, 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 blah. Look, he's a professional athlete. If Adrian doesn't think he can perform at a high level, if his expectations are dropping, then that's when athletes retire. Like, if he doesn't think that he can still perform as a starting caliber running back in the NFL, then that's when you call it quits. That's when you retire. That's when all the greats finally do. So I just think it's shitty. Like, we all know he's lost a step from the old AP, that we've seen that hit that mark for the Vikings, the MVP, Adrian Peterson. But that doesn't mean that his expectations for himself should be any less than the best. I don't know why you would knock him for wanting to play at a high level.
Yeah, this goes back to stuff that I laugh at and I'm a fan of, because I want to hear that quarterback with the bold takes. Like, as much as I think he's a pompous little asshole, Baker Mayfield is just giving all these hot takes out. And
I love it.
Because it gives you something different from the I'm a robot, we played well, challenge, overcame adversity, on to the next team. Like, we know what you're going to say. What do you want him to say? You want him to be like, yeah, you know what? I'm kind of old and I'm a lot slower than I was, and I don't even know if I'm going to make it through the season, but thanks, Redskins, for giving me all this money. Why would he say that?
Yeah, that's stupid.
That's the stupid shit I hate about media. And yeah, I won't talk a bunch about this, but if AP wants to keep playing until he's fucking 40 and people will keep signing him and he just keeps rushing and scoring touchdowns and doing crazy stuff, good for him. I encourage it. As long as you're not having a good game against the Vikings, I could care less, man. More power to you.
Yep. Andrew Leota in the chat says, pocket watches and handlebar mustaches really impress the girls.
there's inappropriate mustache jokes that I want to say. We're going to keep it PG this week and move right along to the next weekend.
I know where you were going with that one.
Yeah, that's right. Per Mike Zimmer, cornerback Mike Hughes will not be participating in any of the Viking OTAs and mandatory minicamps. He suffered an ACL during week 6 last season. He expected to be ready to play by the start of the season. I don't know that he'll play in the first game. Maybe they'll see some action in the first or second, but it'll be very limited. I'm not in a rush to have this kid come back, and it's not because I don't like him. He had a cool little pick 6 last year and had little flashes of why he's a first-round pick, but that's cool to hear about him. I'm personally in the belief that if you don't hear anything, no news is good news, so I'm good with that.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to rush the kid back onto the field, so I'm not worried about, we make a big deal out of OTAs and the mandatory mini camp because it's been forever since we've had football news, and it's like, hey, we get to see our players out on the field doing their thing a little bit. But realistically, they're just running around in gym shorts and T-shirts. And I'm sure it's important. There's a reason why they do it. But, I don't get all bent out of shape if a player with an injury is going to miss some OTAs and mini camp. When it comes to, training camp and preseason, roll him out, get him going, get him time. Don't rush him out. Don't do the doubt because, I feel like we rushed Dalvin Cook onto the field last year, and it took midway through the season for Dalvin to get his legs underneath him. So there's no reason to put Mike Hughes out there in situations where he's not 100% because he's a corner. You don't want him to get burned because that'll hurt his confidence big time. The last thing you want to do is put this kid in situations where he's not ready to play and you shoot his confidence because then you turn into a Chris Cook situation and you don't want that. You really don't want that.
Oh man, that's a name in Viking history I could go with hearing again. So thank you for bringing Chris Cook up. But it's a good point, man. You don't think about the confidence being there, but it's true. These guys, God, I can't. Richard Sherman, and you could go ask Patrick Peterson. Go down the list, go all the way through Rhodes and anybody else. Hey, who's the best corner in the league? They're all going to tell you it's them. So if he's out there getting torched, that's a good point, man.
Yeah.
And you made the point for Dalvin. Dalvin tore his ACL in week 4 of his season. This kid tore it week 6. This is closer to halfway mark rather than the first quarter. So, like I said, if he makes it back by the first week, I'll be impressed. That's some Adrian Peterson shit. But
right.
I'm with you, man. I want him to come back when he's ready because it's a very good comparison of Dalvin last year because it was just everybody was getting pissed off at this kid last year because he wasn't producing. But it's like he's only at 65%. What the hell do you want him to do?
Dalvin last year honestly could have stayed on IR until week 6 or whatever the cutoff date is to call him back. That was not a good look for him. But I'm excited. Speaking of Dalvin Cook, to have him a year removed from that surgery and to have a full off season to get underneath him, so we could really see what this kid has. Fingers crossed that he stays healthy.
Yeah, I'm excited to see him and Madison. I don't know if it's in the notes or whatever, but I'll look through. No, it's not. So we talked about this in the chat between myself, Adam, and Kyle. Apparently Alexander Madison caught every pass that was thrown his way at camp. And I know it's camp against an NFL defense, and there's not anything crazy going on, but I like a big – I'm going to say hefty because he's not Eddie Lacy and fat, but I like a big –
He's a thick. He's a thick back. He's
like a boulder. We should call him boulder backs. He's not a running back. I'm a boulder back. That sounds badass.
Boulder back. I like that.
Yeah. He's like a boulder that can catch a football and just plow through people. And with the way the NFL has worked now, with all these offenses and little screens and shit that everybody's doing, that was cool. I like the 1-2 punch that could be on paper. This marriage should be pretty good between Cook and Madison. So there's a little update to talk about the running backs. This next one's great. This is from Kyle West. Laquan Treadwell gave he gave a stupid quote. I always dream.
It's not a stupid quote. I get it, but I don't like Laquan Treadwell. So
I've
Continue.
always dreamed about staying with one team, going to the Hall of Fame, putting my mark on one team, building and being a guy that the fans would relate to. I would love to be a Viking my whole career. Brother, you ain't here next year, bro. I'm sorry. You're not. I like the sentiment, and it's just kind of like with shit, who was I thinking about that? Like Jerick McKinnon. You'll always remember the Vikings because they drafted you, but we've just been an ATM to this kid, honestly. He hasn't done shit for us.
Yeah.
So, I'm sorry. I mean no harm, even though I just said something really shitty. That was very Stugazzi of me from Levitard show. It's very shitty of me to say that, but he hasn't lived up to that. He hasn't lived up to that first round value. He's dropped a fuck ton of passes, man. It's crazy how many passes he's dropped. But the sentiment that we can focus on here, I guess to round it out positively, is I guess he does love the team. He's very grateful for the chance to be here. If he has like a miracle season where he scores, 10 plus touchdowns and goes for like 1,000 yards, maybe they'll offer him to stay one more year. I don't see that happening with Diggs and Thielen, but the sentiment's nice.
Yeah, at the end of the day, Laquan really seems like a good kid, a good guy. He seems like he's got a big heart. He seems like a nice person. You feel for him. Clearly, I mean, no one who gets drafted anywhere, let alone in the first round, wants to have their career start off the way it has for Laquan. You look at that Green Bay game last year where he dropped all those passes, and that had to be tough. If he didn't cry into his pillow at home that night after that game was over, he's got more intestinal fortitude than I do, because that would have been fucking difficult on primetime television to do what happened to Laquan in that one. With that said, I don't know financially what the cap hit would be or whatever, but I would be surprised if he makes this team this season, let alone next year. I could totally see him being cut after the end of the fourth preseason game.
I just got, I won't say bored while you're talking because obviously we were engaging. I got curious while you were giving those hot takes right there. He has made $8.13 million over 3 seasons. I'm with you, man. It'll be kind of like the NBA Finals that I'm looking at right now. I want the Toronto Raptors to win because I'm tired of the Warriors winning. But do I think that the Warriors are going to win? Absolutely, because they're the fucking Warriors, and they're one of, if not the best teams I've ever seen.
Right?
Do I want Laquan on the team this year? Personally, no. And it's not because I don't want his family to have money and I don't want him to succeed. Maybe he gets another shot somewhere else. I want another kid like the kid from Denver we picked up to come in. And I want another Jarius Wright. That's what I want. I want Aldrick Robinson.
Chad Beebe. We're all aboard the Chad Beebe hype train. At least I am, anyway.
Yeah,
I want to see him get a shot.
Yeah, I want us to move on from him. Do I think there's a solid chance if one of these kids shines that he could be gone? Yeah. I definitely don't think he's going to be on the team next year. They didn't pick up the 5th-year option, but whatever. If he's on the team, I'll support him. Just like old Captain Caucasian and his stupid turtlenecks that he bought recently. Kirk Cousins is the whitest human being I've ever seen on planet Earth. We can talk about that in a little bit, but Laquan Treadwell. What's up?
I was going to say, Jeff and I were working on some stuff for our other podcast when you sent that turtleneck thing to me in the Facebook chat, and I was like, "Hey Jeff, you know how?" And he's a Seahawks fan. I was like, "You know how your quarterback is Russell Wilson?" I'm like, "This is what my quarterback does." And I showed him that thing, and he just laughed, and he's like, "Better you than me, man." He's like, "Better you than me."
There's a great Instagram page that I follow called Middle Class Fancy, and it makes fun of all the white people and their tendencies. Like taking your lady out for a surprise date night at Chili's or Applebee's.
Applebee's. I was thinking Applebee's. Yeah.
That's what I think of when I hear Kirk Cousins. Anything that is super Caucasian and corny. Corny is the overall word. Corny or cheesy. But yeah, man, whatever. He's funny as hell. I love the guy, but it's just like Laquan. If he's on the team, you got to support him. I wish him well.
We have to. He's our quarterback, man. We got to support him.
Oh, this one's good.
I put this one in here for you.
Oh, thank you so much for this. Super Bowl Nation has ranked Brett Favre returning to Lambeau Field in 2009 as a member of the Minnesota Vikings and defeating his former team, the Packers, as the best revenge game of the past 25 seasons in NFL football. Yeah.
Boom.
I mean,
boom.
I still remember that that whole Favre thing going down. I just joined the fucking military. He was a jet. I was deployed. I was in Afghanistan, and I was watching that Steelers-Cardinals Super Bowl with all those crazy catches. And I was like, holy shit, man, this is good. Favre started out like 8-3 with the Jets, and I was like, oh, my God, Tom Brady's out for the year. He's taking over the East. And they went 9-7 because it's Brett Favre.
Rotator cuff. He had that rotator cuff injury that he played through because he
said, you know what? Fuck it, I'll get surgery. I don't need this. So he was like, nah, man, I'm just going to play with one arm. It's fine.
Because he's fucking Iron Man, dude.
Yeah, he's a crazy old man. I love him for it. But I told my dad that. I was like, you know what would be crazy? What if he came back to the NFC North? My dad's like, well, he's definitely not going to play for Detroit. They suck. He's like, he's not going to be a Bear. I was like, dude, what if he teamed up with Adrian freaking Peterson and the Vikings? And it happened.
Right.
And we all remember that year, man. That was a good year. I'm glad you brought that note in, man. 33 touchdowns, 7 picks, NFC Championship game, overtime, 12-4. I remember it like it was yesterday. Really helped us out, especially the year before. I think we were a playoff team the year before, trying to build. Was it Gus Frerotte, the fucking quarterback, the year before?
Gus and Tavares Jackson, I think.
Oh, Jesus Christ!
I don't know if I've ever showed you this before. I have a signed Brett Favre 8x10 autograph of him with the Vikings. That's one of my. Yeah, you got it.
How perfect is that?
Ordered it from his website. It's authentic Brett Favre. So yeah, that's pretty freaking sweet. Him in Minnesota. That was, man. We spent so long hating on Brett Favre. Just because he was a Packer and he beat us, but yeah. I will freely admit, even you hated the guy because he was a Packer, but you still respected the hell out of Brett Favre. And when he came to Minnesota, it was like I may have spent the past however long hating this guy, but man, fucking come on in, Brett. It's like let's embrace him and just give him a big old hug, man. That was fucking cool, and I will never forget. That pass to
Greg Lewis,
who was the receiver, Greg Lewis, in the back of the end zone, where it's like, holy shit, like this is our year, and then Vikings shit happened because it always happens. But man, that was a fun fucking season, and let's just not talk about 2010.
Yeah, that was one of the worst things I've ever seen. Ever. It was really bad.
Remember when the roof of the stadium fell in?
Well, the cool part about that was 500 touchdown of Randy Moss, 506 or 508? 508 career touchdowns. Dude, he was awful. He was like Peyton Manning last year in Denver, awful, like that bad. I remember he died on the field at TCF Stadium, like literally was out in the cold.
Yeah.
And then the stadium collapsed. I was like, yeah, God hates us. He really does. No, man, thanks for throwing some Brett Favre love in there. He's always going to be my favorite quarterback for sure.
And really quick, Andrew Leota in the chat says that Gus Frerotte was the most awesome backup you could hope for. And yeah, I totally agree. Gus Frerotte, my friend Mike coined a phrase that I really liked, where he called Gus Frerotte the poor man's Brett Favre, because Gus was never good enough to be like a starting quarterback, but you could pull him off the bench and he would get out there and just Iron Man that shit and come out with a win. And he would take the most brutal fucking hits where you would look at, remember the one where he his hand was bleeding. It was bleeding out of his hand, and he just popped his thumb back into the socket and just went back out after commercial break and was like, "Fuck it, man! I'm gonna go back out and play." And the Vikings won the game.
Doesn't he have longest pass touchdown in Vikings history? That one, was it Bernard Berrien or Vasant? It was Berrien.
Yeah, it was a 99-yard touchdown pass to Gus Farrat to Bernard Berrien.
Don't know why I hold that information in my brain. That's really
Ying Yaj says that he will take Case Keenum over Gus Farrat. I don't know, man. I'm still going to take Gus Farrat over Case Keenum, but that's an interesting discussion that we should do for social media.
Yeah,
I think I'm going to do that for I'm going to do that for social after this one.
We should do that for to see who the best backup quarterback we've ever had is.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
That'd be cool. Thanks, Yang.
Fun idea.
Your idea. All right, this one's juicy because it's gonna flare back up again. Kyle Rudolph trade rumors? Question mark. I am Ron Burgundy. Ian Rappaport of the NFL Network is reporting that the Vikings, in all likelihood, aren't going to address the Rudolph situation anytime soon. They want to see how well the Vikings want to see how well Irv Smith Jr. plays in training camp before they make any sort of decision. Now, the interesting thing about trade rumors is because the Patriots, who we were in talks with earlier, I think last month, I don't remember who the hell they signed, the tight end that they were trying to, I don't know, quote unquote, replace Gronk. He was cut yesterday during training camp. So they're
Who was cut?
Let me think about this guy. There's no like dead air here, but I'm gonna Google it. Yeah, the Patriots cut their tight end that they brought in. Austin Seferian-Jenkins.
Oh, okay. I did read that. I did hear about that.
So that's an interesting little tidbit because we had the Kyle Rudolph questions last month. So I'm not sure what the hell that means, if they're going to keep Rudy or not. I say if the value's there, you try to wheel and deal. Do what the Patriots do to everyone else to them. Get rid of a player one year early and get value rather than hanging on to the guy a year too late when he's washed and out of his prime. I'm not saying that Kyle Rudolph is out of his prime or he's washed yet. I've never said that on here. But I am an advocate for currency, draft capital, saving money, looking into the future. And from barring anything stupid, like injuries, hopefully that doesn't work. Barring injuries, this Irv Smith kid is going to light this shit up at tight end. He's pretty good. He's not TJ Hawkinson or the other guy from Iowa, Noah Fant, but he's kind of a hybrid. He's really shifty. He's not as big, but he's fast. And he's just going to be able to do a bunch of stuff. He's a little bit more athletic. So, I don't know. I'm all aboard the Irv Smith train at this point for no reason.
I love me some Kyle Rudolph, too. He's been a favorite player of mine for a long time on this team. I agree with you. It hurts me to say it a little bit, but I agree with you. Where it's like we got to do the New England thing.
Yep.
And it's like if what's his name, Irv Smith Jr., if he looks good, I say you get what you can out of Kyle Rudolph. I don't like these rumors that Minnesota have offered Kyle Rudolph a 5-year contract and they're going to make him the highest paid tight end in the NFL. I don't like that. I'm not on board with that. I think that would be a mistake. I do think that he can still produce and make plays, but I believe he is on the decline of his career. And I just don't want to see the Vikings make a large investment thinking that they have a small window of opportunity that they have to retain players with to win with, because I don't think that's the case. And I think that the total, you're right, the total Bill Belichick move here is you trade him now and you let some team like I don't know who, the Patriots or Cleveland or someone like that. You let them overspend for him right now because they think that he might be the final piece to the puzzle for them to win. And I don't know. That's just what I think.
I'm right there with you, man. Like I said, I have nothing against Kyle Rudolph. This is the business side of football, if I've ever heard it.
Right.
For an example here, he's had some good seasons with us. Right now, I think he's like the leading tight end in our Viking history because, he's been here for damn near 9 years, and he's been the only one at tight end catching touchdowns and passes and shit. But Yeah, business move. If it works for the business and it seems like a good deal and you come out the winner, take it.
Yeah.
Pretty simple. I'd like to know what people in the chat think. Are you ready? If the offer is right, if the offer is good enough, are you okay with the Vikings parting with Kyle Rudolph? Let us know and we'll talk about it.
Andrew Leota says, how often do you find a taker for someone on the last year of his contract mid-season? That seems pretty rare. Deal early. And I agree with Andrew on that one. I think that you can wait a little bit. You can wait until, training camp, week 2, week 3 of preseason.
Mm-hmm.
You don't ever want to wish injury on anyone, but injury is going to happen to some other tight end in the league. And maybe that's the opportunity for the Vikings to say, hey, we'll take a 4th round or a 5th round pick for Kyle Rudolph because Herb Smith Jr. looks like a fucking stud. And we know we're good and we're set. And we can move him on and we can make this happen. Like, that's kind of the situation that I'm waiting to unfold for the Vikings this year.
Yeah, I wasn't even thinking about another team, but you're right. Injuries happen. Whoever said that in the chat, sorry, I forgot already. It's a business.
It's Andrew.
Andrew, you're a businessman, and I like it. All right, so we're going to jump into the main topic. This is a cool thing to talk about because it involves someone who's been with the Vikings since 2005. It involves
2005, yeah.
That's almost 15 years. It's coming up on 14 right now, 14 or 15, depending if you count the year that goes in. It's weird how the football always fucks up my basic math with those numbers. But, yeah, let's talk about Vikings Chief Operating Officer Kevin Warren. He was the first African-American Chief Operating Officer in NFL history, and he's making history again because he's going over to be the commissioner of Big Ten football, which is insane because, I'm from North Carolina. I like the Tar Heels. We're most known for basketball. In football, they have Clemson, the reigning champs. Outside of Clemson, there's not really shit in the ACC as far as football is concerned. Then you think about the SEC with Alabama and LSU, Texas A&M. The Big Ten is kind of like the middle brother, out of the 3, but they've got Maryland, they've got Michigan, Michigan State, Ohio State. They've got so many good teams there, and Kevin Warren is going to be the commissioner of that conference. That is crazy.
I Googled really quick because I couldn't remember offhand either, and of course now my internet is being slow. So of course we've got University of Iowa. They're our Big Ten, at least for me. They're our big representative. University of Minnesota, Nebraska, Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan State, University of Michigan. Those are just a couple of the Big Ten. University of Wisconsin. Those are a couple of the big teams that are in the Big Ten Conference. So yeah, it's definitely a big move for him to be taking over the commissioner. Although I'll be perfectly honest, I don't know what the commissioner of the Big Ten Conference actually does.
I'm breaking it down like this, man. If Roger Goodell's the commissioner of the NFL, and that's what kind of influence he has, he's going to oversee like the integrity of what is Big Ten football. If anybody's going to fuck around, whether it be a coach or a player, how swift is he going to come down with the hammer to knock those people down? Make sure that safety is a priority and all that kind of stuff. And, have to go through the NCAA for rule changes and whatnot, but just keeping that brand alive. And to add on to the notes that you put in here too, or I'm sorry, not to add on, but to keep going through your notes. Some of the stuff that he did with the Vikings and was a huge part of was keeping them in Minnesota, which was weird. They were talking about not that long ago, maybe moving them, which is really stupid.
Los Angeles Vikings, man, we were like, I think I don't know how close we were, but Los Angeles Vikings was a thing that was talked about quite a bit. I would have stopped watching football.
It'd be like the Minnesota or the Minneapolis Lakers and go down there. I would be fucking furious, but
I would have stopped watching football. That would have pissed me off that bad.
So he kept them in Minnesota, helped with the construction of US Bank Stadium and that awesome TCO Performance Center. So if you're the chief operating officer, I mean, you're
pretty fucking important.
You're above Spielman, and you're not quite up to the Wilfs because you don't own it. So, I mean, he's pretty much the head guy in charge. So that's pretty cool, man. He did some cool stuff for the team. I'm excited to hear his name and to see what happens with Big Ten football. I have no ties to Big Ten football at all, but I'm excited to see what he does. And more power.
Like I said, my Hawkeyes play Big Ten Conference, so that's kind of cool. I think for us anyway. Vikings connection. You guys know Chad Greenway played for Iowa, and so it's always cool to see Hawkeye players make it in the NFL because we feel like we're a smaller team. Like we don't get the big recruits here in Iowa that like other colleges do. So when we do good, it's really like we play defense, run-based football here in Iowa. Like we're not a flashy team. We don't get the top-tier recruits. And so when we play well, it's based on just like scouting players that you don't hear that are not the top-tier players. And just really gritty football is what I think of when I think of the Big Ten Conference. Like if you're expecting high-scoring games, that's not what you're going to see. But I wanted to mention, I think it's really cool, and we shouldn't undersell the fact that he was the first African-American COO in the NFL. Like, that's a big deal. I think that's a big deal.
No, it is. In the climate that we're in now, I think we're as accepting as we've ever been as a country. Yeah. And whether people want to agree with it, whether you think it's PC or whether you're conservative or you're on the left or right, whatever it is, put all that dumb shit aside, all right? This has never happened before, and he can put his name up there with some of the greats. And whether it be because he wasn't honestly qualified for that position before or somebody else wasn't, I should say, or whether it was a bias or, a prejudice against people before, the fact that it happened breaks ground and opens doors for more people to do that later. Just like when Clinton ran for president, whether you want to hate her or not, she could have been the first woman president. That's a big fucking deal,
Right.
And I'm right there with you, man. Being progressive and seeing what it means. It's easy for us to sit here, I guess to sum this up, as white guys and be like, oh, it's a black guy as COO. What's that mean? But I'm not a black person. And you try to think a lot, and I saw a good quote, and I think let me see who this was from so I can tie this together, because this is one of the best quotes that I've seen in a very, very long time. I think it was Mackenzie Alexander. The biggest communication problem we have is we don't listen to understand, we listen to reply. We always want to counter and argue with people.
Oh, that is a good quote.
It's pretty cool, right? So you think about that, and like I said, for us and being there, like, I'm not here to start a race war. I'm not here to do that side. I'm not picking this as a political agenda or poll, but this is really, really cool. And to step outside of what we think and to think about what this does for his community and tying it in, it's football, man. That guy was a Viking for us, and he broke ground. So fucking hats off to him. I'm really happy that he kept the Vikings in Minnesota. I'm very happy with the new stadium. Can't wait to go see a game at it. And all the players fucking rave about TCO Performance Center. So he's done some pretty cool stuff with his time here.
Yeah, definitely, man.
I want to see where. Let me look it up here. I want to see.
Have you been? While you're looking that up, have you been to US Bank Stadium yet?
Nope.
Oh, dude, it's super fucking it is legitimately one of the nicest stadiums you will ever have a chance to visit.
Okay. So I just wanted to see where he was from. He was born in Phoenix, Arizona. He's 55. University of Pennsylvania, Grand Canyon University, Arizona State, and then law school at fucking Notre Dame. Well, there you go. So he's not smart at all. Not a smart guy whatsoever. That's awesome, man. I didn't know if he was a Minnesota native, if that's how he landed the job, but either way, that's really cool.
Ying Yaj in the chat says, US Bank Stadium is so intimidating in a good way, and I agree.
Yeah. Although listening to some podcasts like around the NFL, and Dave Damashek's always talking about, how could you guys put a roof on that thing? It's like Green Bay, Chicago is like, you got to keep that open. It's an advantage. And all the players are like, fuck no, man, it's freezing up here.
Look, I'm going to be perfectly honest, and the hardcore like outdoor Minnesota football fans are gonna hate me for this. If I'm paying the money that I'm paying to go up to Minnesota for those tickets, I want to sit in a fucking warm ass stadium and drink some beer and enjoy myself and watch some Vikings football. I want to freeze my balls off.
No, you're 100% right, and I'm right there with
Yeah.
you. Adam Carlson is cursing us right now, telling us that this is bullshit. But I'm with you.
And hey, look, let's be real. For as much money as what the state has to put in for this, it has to be a multi-purpose. You have to be able to do more things than just Vikings football with it. And if it's an open-air stadium in Minnesota in the wintertime, you can't have Metallica, you can't have the X Games, you can't have the Final Four football or basketball, excuse me. You can't do all that stuff. Like it has to be a multi-purpose thing.
That's very true. Yep, that's a very solid point. I like it, man. I think the design is sleek, and like Yang said, it's intimidating for some other people. It just looks like Minnesota. It looks like a very Minnesotan thing to have, you know. So, yeah, good job. Tie that in with Kevin Warren. Congrats to him, and good luck on his endeavors with the Big Ten Conference. Man, I don't have anything for like a bold statement because I told Kyle before we started. Probably shouldn't say this, but this is Purple People Podcast, and this is where we say whatever we want. This is my least favorite time of the year. This is boring ass shit that's going on right now.
Yeah.
There's elation. We as Vikings fans, and especially Kyle and I, because we're super pessimistic and always look at the downfall. I'm just waiting to get the ESPN update that somebody tore their fucking ACL doing something.
Right.
I'm just dreading it. I'm preparing myself mentally because I know it's probably going to happen. But yeah, man, I'm excited. It's just this is kind of a lull. This is even more to me more boring than after the Super Bowl before the draft, honestly, because
that's a really fun time of year because you're preparing for the draft. You got all the draft speculation. You got players being traded from team to team to team. This time of year, it's like you got a little bit with what do they call them, OTAs and stuff that are going on. But until you hit training camp, you're treading. As soon as you hit training camp, it's like crank that dial up to 11 because fall is going to be hitting hard and fast. And I can't wait for that time of year to happen. Bold statement. Cousins wins every primetime game this year.
Oh, no. Let's change it. I'm not trying to take away whoever it is. Give me an over-under and make it difficult. Over-under, because he has 5 primetime games. Over-under 2.5 or 3. Go with that. And whoever proposed that, change it up. Make it an over-under, and you can make it a solid number. If you're going to break it in the middle, make it halves so we have to choose up or down. But I'm going to say Cousins wins. If we set it at 3, does he go over? No. I think he loses 2 of them. He wins 3 out of the 5.
I am going to be an asshole and say that he only wins 2.
I mean, you're going off of history. I don't think you're an asshole.
Yeah. You know my opinion on Kirk Cousins, man. I got to support him because he's the Vikings quarterback, but I am still not the biggest Kirk Cousins fan on the planet right now.
So I opened to send a message out. It's Kirk Cousins throwing a pass to Stephon Diggs. Our phones are listening to everything that we do.
Just all the time. Just all of the time. I, for one, welcome our robot overlords.
I've got a great one. We'll end it with this is not going to be a topic of conversation now, but I want to tease everyone in the chat, and I want to get everybody to go over to our Facebook page and to get everything rolling. There's a lot of talks in the NFL as a whole of them switching to an 18-game season. A lot of people are in favor of that. So I want to know what people think. That's going to be the social media question. If not this week, then next week, because it's a real hot topic right now. There's going to be some holdouts coming in 2021. So 2 seasons from now, we're going to have another holdout is what it looks like. I can't remember who it was, one of the analysts or insiders or whatever the hell they're. Journalist, analyst, insider, beat writer, I don't fucking care.
All of the above.
We're not sponsored, and this isn't a professional show. So until then, I will not have my shit together until I get paid for this. But there's reports out that there's going to be some rule changes that are going to be taken in, and someone somewhere higher up for the NFL said that NFL players should start saving their money because there will probably be a holdout in 2021, which is nuts because that means they're not going to fucking train in the offseason together because they're not allowed. They can go hold private workouts, but they can't actually go over the schemes, the plans, and officially do everything, which is nuts. And the last time that happened, we had Christian Ponder, and we went 3-13. So I don't want that anymore. I'm just throwing it out there. But I want to know.
Adam and I touched upon this a little bit last week where we talked about the potential of a lockout. And, it's no football fan ever wants to say that there could be a lockout coming because the last thing that any of us ever want to see is no professional football being played. The only weird kind of positive spin that we put on it a little bit is that the XFL is going to be playing by then. And so it could hurt the NFL a little bit if there's a player lockout.
Yeah.
And the XFL, I don't know. That's an interesting situation. We'll just have to see.
We'll be interested to see. I'll be interested to see what happens with that. Knowing this far out, it's kind of like knowing that there's going to be like an earthquake or a hurricane. You should probably start getting ready for that. That's just my opinion on it. I hope they figure it out because, like you said, no football would piss a lot of people off. But I'm more interested too, or I guess equally as interested, on this 18-game season and how the hell that would work. Because I agree too, man. I don't think that unless they change how mini camp, OTAs, training camp, all that shit goes, and how intense they can be there, because they've lightened that up a lot. Unless they change the intensity to make it more intense there, and they can practice more and harder like they used to. I don't know how I feel about this 18-game, 2-game shit.
My opinion, the old stone that I will die on is that if they're going to increase the season, you have to have a larger roster than what they currently allow. You've got a 53-man roster.
Make it 60.
It's got to, yes, you've got to increase it up to at least a 60-man roster, and you're going to say you're going to allow 55 players, or fuck it, you're going to allow all 60 players to dress on game day.
Yep.
I'm trying to read the chat at the same time. My friend Cheryl says that I am an asshole. Thank you, Cheryl. I appreciate that. We got a bold statement from Ying Yaj who says Madison outplays Dalvin Cook.
Wow. We'll see, man. If that's the case, I won't be too upset. I'll wonder what the hell happened to Dalvin Cook, but I won't be crying at night if he plays really well.
I'm excited for some Madison, too. We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
And I think that is pretty much our show for this week.
Yeah, that's going to be it. Adam Carlson is not here. Dorian Foley's not here. Like we said at the beginning of the show, they'll be back sometime. They have other obligations. There will always be at least two of us here for this to run the show until all of our brothers get back. So check out Adam's work at thevikingage.com. He's a writer over there. That's where we get a shitload of these notes to talk about on this show. Mm-hmm. Yes, check that out for sure.
Luckily, I was going to say, I really don't have a life, so I'm always here to podcast with you fine folks.
Yeah, he does. He can podcast whenever. He also does another podcast, and it's the best name for a podcast I've ever heard.
Shut up, I like this. Although, you might be a little sad. Jeff and I are kind of rebooting our movie podcast a little bit. We've taken a couple weeks off. We've rebuilt a new set that looks really fucking cool. I'm really pretty proud of the set with the green screen and everything that we got going with it. And so we're changing the name of it to Cinema Shack. And Shut Up, I Like This is going to be the tagline because we felt that a lot of people didn't really understand that Shut Up, I Like This was a movie podcast.
No, I get it.
So we're calling it Cinema Shack with Shut Up, I Like This is our tagline.
You could do that.
So you can look
that as your catchphrase or something, man. That'd be cool to
throw in there for any negative comment. Shut up. I like this.
Yeah, definitely.
That's awesome.
So we've taken a couple weeks off. We're going to be coming back maybe next week or the week after. You can look for that. And then Jeff is doing some other crazy cool stuff with the Indie Gamer magazine that he's got going on. You should check that out if you're into like video games and you want to play something other than like Call of Duty and that kind of junk. Check out the Indie Gamer magazine. I know Jeff would really appreciate if you do that too.
Cool. I have nothing to promote for me because I'm getting out of the military. So let's just hope I'm not under a bridge here in a couple weeks because then I won't be able to podcast. No, what I was going to say is to give you guys, I want everyone listening still to the Purple People podcast at the moment to take in what I'm doing right now because we want you to do this for us. I have a suggestion for the Cinema Shack, as we now call it. Just a little game plan, and you don't have to do this, but I would appreciate it if someone would tell us on the show something like this, sort of a theme. But pick a genre or a style of a movie per month. If you have one podcast a week like we do, that would afford you and Jeff 2 per person per month every 4 weeks. And you know, July could be a horror classics because that's usually when the slashers come out. It doesn't even have to be horror. It could just be slasher classics. You guys pick 2 of your favorites, go over it. The next one could, like me, I'm a shameless romantic comedy fan. Don't fucking at me. I love them. Could do a month of that. And then the next one could be holiday movies or, you know, right around the Christmas time. All right, cool. For all of December, we're going to do holiday classics or something. Just a thought that popped in my head. Don't know if you've done it yet, but I had to run that around for our show.
We've done it a little bit where we've done we did a whole month of DC content where we reviewed like Man of Steel and Suicide Squad and all of that stuff. So we've done themed months a little bit. Like October, we picked like horror movies to do in October for Halloween and stuff. Yep. So yeah, it's definitely fun, and we want to do more of that. We want to do more themed content.
That was me not watching something and then talking about it and looking like a jerk. So you guys,
it's an awesome idea.
Give us suggestions for this show to do for that. I don't know how we would theme stuff, but if you have an idea or something that we can do as far as segments, way to talk, we love that you guys get in the chat so we can interact with you. It's absolutely awesome. If you have any suggestions to make the show better, let us know. If you want to critique us, I'm a big girl. I can handle that you something. I am. I can take this, but my only suggestion to you is what they told me in the military a long time ago. If you're going to complain, give me a solution to fix it, all right? Don't just be like, Kyle West is a dick. And I'm going to be like, yeah, he is. Why? Because he's a dick. Okay, that was a waste of yours and my time, all right? Just give us something there. If you have something or a segment that you think would be cool or an idea or something we can run with, we would love to do that because this show has grown tremendously in the last 5 years, and we want to continue to do that. And I just figured the show, so I think that's my cue to shut up.
Andrew Leota says, worst Vikings wide receiver drops of all time. I mean, that's going to be that's going to be Laquan Treadwell in that Green Bay game, and that's going to be Troy Williamson just being wide open and just dropping passes right in front of him.
Okay, the only way I'm doing the worst list is one time a year for a month. I don't want to do that shit all the time because there's a lot to choose from. It makes me depressed. So we can choose one like donkey month of the year or something. That'd be cool. That's a good idea.
Yeah, definitely.
That'd be fun.
Definitely.
I'd cry a little bit, but it'd be fun. Make me laugh.
I'd cry a little bit as the tagline of a Vikings fan.
Yeah. You're going to get your heart broken. Just prepare for it. Well, that's all I've got. If you got nothing else, man, thank you everyone for listening, for joining in on the YouTube channel, for the chat. Check us out on Facebook. We have Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can find this. Tell your friends about it, because if you're listening to it now, you already know where it's at. But if you want to listen to it somewhere else, I believe we're on iTunes and Stitcher and PodOMatic and all that cool stuff. You can find us everywhere. And In the words of Adam Carlson, stay classy, Minnesota.